Merhaba arkadaşlar, ilk defa başlıyorum bu oyuna. Ancak ses ayarlarını yapmadan başlamak istemiyorum. Çünkü her defasında bu sorun oluyor. Belki tekrar etmeye gerekebilir. Hemen deneyeceğim. Eğer ses normalse kaldığımız yerden devam edeceğiz. Merhaba arkadaşlar, The Beginner's Guide. Yeni başlayanlar için Kılavuz adlı oyuna tekrar hoş geldiniz. Ses ayarlarını yaptım. Şimdi oyuna başlayalım. Oyun hakkında en ufak bir fikrim yok. Sadece fragmanını izlemiştim. Bakalım bizi neler bekliyor. Oyun yaklaşık 2-3 saat arası sürüyormuş. Sesin açık olduğundan emin olunuz. Türkçe yamasını bulamadım ne yazık ki. Eline geldiğince çevirmeye çalışacağım. Bunun dışında bir de oyun Windows, Linux ve Mac'te oynanabiliyor. Humble Bundle'dan veya GOG'den diğer hamsi olarak alabiliyorsunuz.
Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Wreden'dan.
Benim adım
I
Davey
wrote
Wreden'dan.
the Stanley Parable. And while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and
2008 ve
2011.
2012 arasındaki
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda.
Coda adında bir
Now, these games mean a lot to
arkadaşım
me.
var.
I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really...
Bir dakika. Alt yazılar yok mu ya? Say hi. Audio. Oh evet, full captions. Bu şekilde daha iyi olacak.
struggling with some personal stuff. And his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of
Başlayabilir miyim?
creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off... Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide.
Başladık.
My name is Davey Wreden'dan. I wrote the Stanley Parable. And while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda.
Coda adındaki
Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff. And his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Bu Kasım 2008'deydi. Evet. Evet. Yürü. Whisper Machine. Hemen ayrılın.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Coda'dan gördüğünüz genel oyunlardan bir tanesine benziyor.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life form inbound.
It kind of looks like this game was abandoned mid-development.
Ortasında
For
terk edilmiş
instance,
gibi.
you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Oyunun ne olduğundan bahsetmeliyiz, ne
Enemy force
olmadığından değil.
neutralized. Begin chute evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Buradan evrenin altını görmek güzel bir duygu.
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it.
Labirent var.
Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Oops. Senin için atlayacağım. Dedi.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting.
Burası ilginç.
The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all.
Elinizi kurtarabilirsin, motor
That beam is
alabilirsiniz.
powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam.
Vücudun.
So much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Evet, diyor ki vücudun durduruyor diyor. Bizim için kendini feda edebilir misin dedi. Şaka mı bu? Yapmasam? Yapmam gerekiyor.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere, and this is what happens instead.
Normalde ölmeniz gerekiyor diyor. Ama gidiyoruz. Oha.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Bunu bıraktıktan sonra gelen sonraki oyuna bakalım. Bu da Kasım 2008 yapılmış. Oyunu bırakmış arkadaşlar. Geçmiş.
Yep. In this game you can only walk backwards.
Çok ilginç.
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Benzersiz bir ses veriyor diyor. Niçin gelecek değişiyor? Bu tarafa gitmemiz gerekiyor değil mi? Çok ilginç bir oyun. Çok ilginç. Duruyor ve her şey daha... Durup baktığında her şey daha açığa kavuşuyor. Ancak gelecek her zaman onun arkasındaysa yüzleşmek için
It's a short little thought. It says what it wants to say and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Sıradaki. Şimdi giriyorsun. Oops.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Şu an hiçbir şey ifade etmiyor diyor de. Kasım 2008 bu arada.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Şimdi bir şey ifade etmiyor ama birkaç bölümler
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
Keşke bu oyunları yaparken onunla konuşuyor olsaydım. Dedi.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Şimdi diyor ki, oyun normalde burada gitmem sesi vermiş ama enter'e basıp ben size diyor bu oyunu düzelteceğim. Girip görebileceksiniz kendiniz. Madem diyor koda göstermek istemiyorsa bu odayı niçin bu kapı açılıyor? Vah. Oyun hiçbir şey. Bir yabancı.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
O da oyun fikirleriyle dolu.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
İnsanlara konuşursan onların fikirlerine ve rüyalarına yapıyorsun. Ocak 2009. Hazır. Başla. Balık. Hapishane sanırım. Burada bunda başarım var mı? Hiçbir şey yok.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle.
Bulmaca.
Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Bakalım çözebilecek misin?
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon.
Çözümü unutma.
We're going to see it a lot.
Bundan bayağı bir şey göreceğiz. Aynısından. Muhtemelen.
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Yine enter'a bastığımda oyunu düzelttim. Enter'a bastığımda odalar silinecek. Wow.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world.
Wow.
Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Rolün anlamak değilse peki ne? Şimdi geldik. Şimdi çıkıyorsun.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Hepsini oynadıktan sonra anlayacağız. Mart 2009. Güzel ve sevimli bir alçalma.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Oyun motoru yani oyunun gelişimi için.
To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
Motorun neyi yaptığıyla ilgili çalışıyordu.
The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Kapı açıldı. Evet. Başarım yok, gerek yok. Oops.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the door stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
1 saat sonra açılıyormuş normalde ama için bunu
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games. that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
Okay. Dediği şey, bu tartışmışlar arkadaşlar. Şunun sesini kısacağım. Daha da nasıl kısayım? Tartışmışlar arkadaşlar, oynanabilir oyun yap diye. Bu da şey diyor, arkadaşından zip dosyası almış, oynanabilir oyunlar adında. Ve bu dosyada ne yazık ki minik oyunlar varmış sadece, kare dolu. Gidebiliyoruz mu? Gidemiyoruz. Her yer cam dolu.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over.
Aynı bulmaca.
But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Niçin diyor bunu tekrar tekrar kullandığını anlayamadım bir türlü, ama diyor merak etmeyin, kendi yorumumu çok yakında söyleyeceğim. Sen yukarıdan
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Bir tanesine bas bakalım. 2 numaraya basalım. Yukarıdan mı geldin? Orada ne vardı? Oradaki dünya. Oraya geldin. Şimdi bu önemli. İkili yere geçtin mi? Söylemek istemiyorum. Henüz tanıştık. Emin misin? Anlamıyorsun. Buraya tutuklu kaldık ve buradan çıkmamız gerekiyor. Tamam, şöyle söyleyelim. Harika. Evet. Cevap nedir? Bilmem ne gerekiyor. Şimdi ne olmalı, anlat hadi dedi. Şimdi dinleme modunda. Evet, böyle. Evet. Bu kadar mı? Evet. Keşke basmasaydım. Geçebiliyorum. Tamam. Oh. Buraya nasıl geldin? Hayır, sürekli buradaydım. Git ve gör. Çözmek zorunda değilsin. Ortadaki siyah yerde oturabilirsin. Çözersen ne oluyor? Emin değilim. Ama bir şeyim varsa çözmek için başka bir şeyin olacak falan filan demiş. Güzel, gidelim.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Ve son bölüme iniyoruz.
It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind it. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Ve fikir ilerledikçe ilerleyecek. Bu da bitti. Nisan 2009. Oyun internete bağlı. Yürüdükçe notlar bırakabilirsin. Ve gördüğün notlar diğer insanlar tarafından bırakılmış. Çok ilginç. Güzel da değil.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy, trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
Vah. Vah. İzleyebiliyor musunuz? Düşebiliyor muyum? Düşebiliyorum yalnız. Selam.
Feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played. But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
Evet, kapıyı açılmıyor, yapmış ama açılmıyor. Hiçbir şey yok burada, dinlemeyin falan filan. Kendi notlarıymış, yalnız yalnız diyor. Koda yalnız dedi. Yalnız olduğunu anlamış buradan. Böyle bir şey yazamadım. Buna geçiyorum arkadaşlar. Şuraya bakacağım. Sanırım buradan getirmem gerekiyor. Cehnatları dinleme. Bu boya ne demek? Bunu yapanın sorunları var. Hey. Bu sadece asılı.
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution. Wow. He understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Bunu anlattı arkadaşlar. Bu şeymiş.
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
İçeri girmeden önce anlatayım. Bulmacanın amacı arkadaşlar, bir fikir bulduğunda, tamamen anladığında bu bulmacayı koymuş oyunlarına. Ve yine bir ışık. Bu nedir? Orada mısın? Bir şeyler söyle. Her şey olabilir. Benimle konuş. Konuş. Diyor. Ve bitti.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
Birkaç dakika çıldıracak sizi. Bekle. Evet, bu yürüdüğümüz yol ve kuyu var. Çıktık.
See, like, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Şimdi sürüm 2. Mobilyanın orada ne işi var? Delik koy. Duvar ne olacak? Orada bir çamaşır makinesi. Hiç alakası yok. Odayı aydınlatmalıyız sanırım. LCD koy dedim. LED koy dedim ama normal ışık koyacak tabii ki. Bir masaya ihtiyacım var. Masalar 1900'lerde icat edildi dedim.
There's a bit more to this one, but still it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Bu sefer fikir farklı bir şekilde. Lütfen ileri yürü. Bu rehber. Herhangi bir hapishaneden kaçmanıza yardımcı olacak. Dikkatle dinle talimatları. İlk olarak şeye tıkla, masaya tıkla. Güzel, şimdi fotoğrafa git ve çevir. Şimdi odayı, ışını kapat ve aç. Şimdi sol tarafa git ve sofayı biraz çekil, biraz ilerlet. Şimdi raflara dokun. Şimdi kaç. gerçek bir hapishanede kapı açılacak. Başlangıça git ve hapishaneye dön. Hatırlıyor musunuz acaba?
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape.
Şimdi masa yok ve bu yüzden başlayamıyorsun.
Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside.
Farklı şeyler.
Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this. To see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on. But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop. That particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going. And then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created. And the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Beğendiği hapishane sürümü buymuş arkadaşlar. Bakalım. Ardından bu oyunun burada bitireceğiz. Oh. Merhaba. Bu da kim? Hey, benim. Senden kaçtım. Sen ben misin? Ha, senim. Senden kaçan. Şimdi burada da mı hapiste kaldın?
It's a conversation.
Konuşma.
And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Oyunlarda kendisinde. Kaçmak nasıl bir şey? Nasıl olduğunu unutuyorum hapishanede. Kaçmanın bile. Gerçekten mi? Ne kadar oldu sen çıkalı? Kaç dakika ama hiç olmamış gibi. Çok kötü. Nasıl unutabilirsin? Ah, yanlış bastım. Unutmuyorsun bile. Sadece onunla kimliğini bütünleştirmeye şey yapıyorsun. Eğer if you're me, then did you get a call from... Hayır. Başka arada geçtim. Hayır, almadım. Şimdi beni arayabilir misin? Çıkmak için şunun nasıl olduğunu bilmem gerekiyor. Beni kurtaracak mı bu? Nasıl çalışıyor ki böyle bir şey? Yapana kadar bilmeyeceksin ama şimdi söyle. Tamam, korkuyorum ve hiçbir şey değişmeyecek gibi. Evet.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice?
Rahatlatıcı olduğunu demek istiyor falan filan demiş. Ağustos 2009 arkadaşlar ama videoyu burada bitiriyorum. 10. bölümdeyiz. İzlediğiniz için teşekkürler. Videoyu beğenmeyi, yorum yapmayı unutmayın. Başka bir videoda görüşmek üzere. Hoşçakalın.